since the beginning. Over the past 3 years, though, let's give people what they want to hear, right? Over the past 3 years, Jared Ewan has been the top income earner in this in our organization, right? For the past 3 years consistently. Over the past 3 years, he's deposited probably over $4 million in the bank over the past 3 years. So give or take a little bit, I'm sure, right? But yeah, over about $4 million in the industry. But Jared, what I want to talk to you about, Jared, is because a lot of people they see you being super successful, right? And they see kind of where you are now. But I want to ask you a question, Jared. I want you to kind of talk about what was your journey into the industry, and once you found the industry, kind of what attracted you to it. So what kind of kept you going?
That's a good question. I mean, thanks for having me on. I get to watch these every week while you post them up. It's fun to get on it. So I've been in the industry now. I got into this industry right around January of 2009. That was my first real month at it. It took me a few times. As a matter of fact, I failed my insurance license 3 times. And so it took me my 4th time of getting it. But I did it in like a span of 2 weeks. And I will tell you, I don't know if they're
good,
but I will tell you, I don't know if there's anything specific that would attract people individually to this industry, other than the fact that when I left my retail job and I moved my family down to Florida back in the late 2008 area, the industry in the world was kind of changing, kind of a lot like it is today. And so I was just kind of on a hunt looking for something that was going to help me, provide for my family. I was used to working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, in retail. And I really wasn't interested in going back into that lifestyle necessarily. I don't mind working hard, but one of the things I just kept kind of putting fillers out, trying to talk to people about different opportunities, and got a lot of different opportunities provided to me at that point, kind of telling me a little bit about different parts of the world and where you could go. I got a call from a guy. His name was Mike. Got a call from Mike it was like a Monday or Tuesday afternoon, and I was actually in the Panhandle of Florida, and me and my wife were driving. We were going to see a movie. And because that's what unemployed people do, is they go and spend money on stuff for no reason. But I was going to see a movie, and I got a call from him, and he was like, "Hey, I'd like to bring you in for an interview." And asked him when, and he said, "It's like an hour from now. Can you get here?" And I was like, "Sure." So I went in and sat with him, and when I walked in a room, there's like 20 people there. And here this guy, and I wouldn't say I was young, but I was 28 at that point. And I was probably dressed the poorest out of everybody in there. And there's people that made me look bad, and but I walked in, and the whole front row, all 6 seats were empty, and I remember sitting there listening to the guy talk about this business for about 30 minutes, and it was just intriguing to me that you could go out and sell at your discretion anytime you wanted, and every time you did. Back in the day, you made about $500 every time you made a sell, and he was like, "You go out and you take this form." He showed me a lead. You can go out and you make $500 every time you make a sell, and then he said, another part of this business is being able to build your own distribution channel. And you can go out and hire individuals. And I think, Adam, that was probably what intrigued me most about this business, is because, listen, I don't know about the rest of y'all in the world, but I know I'm I didn't go to college. I've been doing retail since I was 17 years old, and, kind of lucked up through the retail ranks. But I was, it was kind of hard to figure out how to advance in the world in a big way without being able to own your own business. And this gave me the distribution of product. I understood that concept because it kind of rings true in every aspect of business in general. The more product that flows through your door, the more the percentage the company gets. And so I understood that. And when he told me about being able to manage your distribution of product and being able to create it at whatever level you wanted, I thought that was very interesting. That kind of what caught my interest initially about this business. But I was a wreck, so there was a lot of work that had to go into that after.
Listen, Jerry, I think you said it before too, man. We actually found the industry around about the same time, sound like about 28 years old. And that's why I resonate so well with you, Jerry, just because, man, look, your path is similar. I was in retail since, college on up to 28. And then again, putting out fillers, came back. Darren Willis found me. So that's why I resonate so well with you, Jerry, because our paths are similar, right? Even though you've done some great things over the past 10 years, specifically the past 4.5 years, you coming into Equus on about 4 or 5 people, right? 4 or 5 people. In the first year, I think you told me we did over 600,000. And after that, you know, million. It's been a story. That's been the you know, the kind of story ever since that time. But Jared, people are going to watch this video and say, "Oh man, yeah, somebody else is making great money." I don't think it's true. And listen, Jared, somebody asked a question recently, and I try to ask it to everybody who's a mentor of mine, and kind of say, what did you have to personally sacrifice to get to where you are now? That goes doesn't go, you know, answered a lot. People say, yeah, I'm at success, but what did you have to personally sacrifice to kind of get to where you are now?
Well, I mean, I think with anything in the world, there's a give and a take, right? There's a give and take. Matter of fact, Napoleon Hill says it in his books. He talks about, you know, for every time you want to move up beyond any level you're at, you're going to have to give up to move up, you know. And people have heard that slogan so many times in their lives and never really kind of understand what that means. They always think it has monetary value associated with it, like you got to pay money to get somewhere. And that's not necessarily what it means. Sometimes it's going to be different, you know, time. And sometimes it's going to be, you know, I mean, listen, it's as simple as like maybe like for the first year in our business, my wife and I reinvested everything. So it wasn't necessarily money, but reinvested everything from a time aspect to money into our business so we can move up. So, you know, we invested a lot. We invested a lot of time. Like we didn't spend a whole lot of times going on, you know, on dates or on, you know, on vacations for our first couple of years. You know, we didn't spend a whole lot of money, you know, going out and doing fun stuff. We didn't buy new cars. We didn't buy a house. Matter of fact, we owned a house before we got into this business, and then we got rid of the house, and then we just bought a house again 3 years ago, and people thought we were crazy because we were waited so long. But I mean, but the difference is we could have bought a couple $100,000 house like everybody else does, but then, you know, we waited till 3 years ago, and we had enough money to buy you know, $1 million house cash. And so there's a difference. You just got to kind of you got to use your abilities of what you have available to you, and then, you know, remember that the world moves so fast. I mean, I remember the beginning of 2020, you know, when the coronavirus started hitting all of us, right? And I remember in mid-March where they shut the world down, and shoot, dude, we're almost at the end of the year, and it's moved so rapidly. And you know, by this time next year, no one's even going to remember 2020. They're going to be so focused on 2021. So you just got to understand that you got to think a little bit further into the future about what you're wanting to accomplish, not necessarily about what's being accomplished right now. And sometimes you got to give up a little bit of time. You know, sometimes it's going to take a little bit of money. But, you know, we did stuff. We worked out of home offices. We didn't buy new cars. We didn't buy a house for years and years. You know, we focus on paying off credit card debts, you know, paying off all debts. I mean, we've been debt free for years now. We owe nothing to nobody. And so, you know, it's, you know, but for years and years, we didn't go out and spend lavishly so that we could afford to be able to live a little bit more lavishly now.
Well, Jared, people are going to watch this video and say, man, I'd give you guys this. Jared's probably, I'm going to give him 39, not 40. I'm giving him 39. You 40 yet, Jared?
I'm 40. I just turned 40. Right? Yeah.
Hey, yep. Man, listen, 40 years old, no debt, $1 million house pretty much paid off cash because of this industry, which is amazing. So, Jared, I want you to talk to a new agent right now, right? Somebody who just came in the business. What's the number one obstacle you see new agents face in this business? First coming in, new entrepreneur, what's that obstacle?
From an entrepreneur standpoint, not from an insurance standpoint,
yeah,
from an entrepreneur standpoint, the lack of knowledge in general in your life is going to be your biggest obstacle. You know, invest a lot of time into investing into yourself. Like, so, you know, spend time learning from people, not necessarily about product details, not necessarily about procedural details, but more so about how to improve your brain, your mind, your focus on what you're trying to do. I was just on a call and I was talking about this book. This is not an advertisement, but I said this was one of the best books I've ever read right here. It's called The 29 Leadership Secrets from Jack Welch. And I was just on a call with him and I was telling him, I said, listen, you know, you got to invest into yourself. You got to expand. One of our good managers, his name's Christian. I was explaining to him my first year in this business, I spent, you know, every waking moment I could outside of this business, reading books, trying to expand my brain, you know, just to be able to handle situations, from being able to manage myself to being able to manage my business, to being able to manage agents, to be able to lead leaders, so you got to spend a lot of time investing in yourself as a brand new entrepreneur. Doesn't matter what age you're at, we all, there's colleging going on in all of us. So all of us got to go to a college of some sorts, whether it's a university where you get a higher education through a university, or where you invest time into your reading and into yourself. You're going to have to invest into yourself in one way, shape, or form. So I'd say new entrepreneurs really need to focus on trying to expand their brains and get better and better and better at trying to manage situations.
Jared, I have a quote on my board by John Maxwell that says, if you want to be wealthy and happy, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
It's funny that you say that, because I have a John Maxwell book sitting next to me, and I got another one sitting right here. I'm a big Maxwell fan, and he's a great leader. I've been to many of his different conferences, so another investment.
Listen, Jared, and you quote John Maxwell all the time. That's why I started reading the books, man. Again, guys, mentorship is real, man. Definitely find you some. But last question, Jared, I want to ask you, man. So, and you kind of touched on it as you went throughout all these other questions, man. But so this is not for a new agent. This is just somebody's going to see this video and look at this opportunity and say, oh, is this real? And they've been praying, they've been hoping for something. They're going to watch this video and they may not be able to believe it. But Jared, what advice would you give that person who's looking at this opportunity for the very first time? Like, what are you telling them?
I tell everybody, obviously nothing's the right thing for everybody. But the one thing that anybody getting into some new industry, new business got to remember is that there's always a learning curve. And learning the curves become very emotional. So, because as human beings, we're instant gratification individuals. We want success immediately. Whether you've had prior success, whether you had athletic success, people want success. Success is natural. We thrive for success. And so when you get in this business or in business in general, you got to remember that there's a learning curve that comes with that. And the one thing that really takes people and throws them in a spiral is emotion. Emotion is the killer of all. And so you have to learn how to level your emotions. Someone gave me a great example one time. They actually said, they were showing me a piece of paper and they said, you ever, this is for the older folks, Adam, like me. But there was that old cursive paper that they used to learn how to draw cursive on. And they said, how it had the two top lines and the bottom line, and they always wanted you to draw in between the lines. They had a little dotted line. They said, well, look at that as an emotional spectrum, where the top line is your high level emotion, so excitement. The low level is your lowest level of emotion, which is like depression or anger. And that middle line is kind of just the level of all emotions. And they said the people who become most successful in any business or in general are the ones that learn how to keep their emotions right in that middle line. So when they have a good week, they don't jump high, because most people live above the high line and below the low line. They learn to keep right in the middle of that line so that their emotions stay solid all the time. So when they do have a good week, they don't get excited. When they have a bad week, they don't get depressed or mad. They just know that there's always learning curves inside of there. And you got to learn how to keep that emotion at bay, because that emotion can take you all over the place. And if you have a good week, you want to go out and conquer the free world. But if you have a bad week, you're ready to jump off the closest cliff. Just remember, keep your emotions at bay as a new entrepreneur, as a new business person, as a new agent, whatever you decide to go towards. Keep your emotions straight in the middle, and you will be able to conquer whatever you're trying to go after.
Come on, man. Jared Ewing, you could teach a class on this all day, man. But all we needed was 15 minutes, man. You jam-packed it in 15 minutes. Well, Jared, any last words you want to say, anything you want to say before we end the interview? You pretty much touched everything you do, man.
I will tell you, the only thing I'll say is Adam and his better half Amber are amazing people. So if you're watching the video, he did not pay me to say this. But if you are watching the video, join in on his organization, you're not going to be disappointed. They are great people, and they are moving very, very quickly. So we are looking forward to seeing their success along the path.
Jared, man, I appreciate your time, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Tell Jennifer and Ari I said hello, brother.
My pleasure, man.
Hey, man, stay safe, bro.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.